Hello everyone, welcome back again. If you don't know me yet, I am Zefawan, a founder of 𝐬𝐞𝐜𝐫𝐞 Limited, which is basically Amazon service-based agency that help brand to scale. And before we begin today's session, let me share you why we're hosting this session today. Because every year we have seen a thousand of product launches on Amazon, and barely 10% was successful. And most of the time, the reason is not the wrong product selection, but the way they develop and launch on Amazon is the wrong way. So if you genuinely wanted to learn something advanced, something deep level as tactics of Amazon product development and launches in 2025, then this session is for you. Stay with us in the end and you will get some awesome ingredients about that. So please welcome our great guest, Steven Selikoff, who's going to share amazing insight about product development and real launches. Hey, Steven, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Perfect. So, Steven, why not let's start with your brief background introduction and how you can start your journey in Amazon space. Before that, what you are doing, and currently what you are building for Amazon space.
Excellent. Well, my background, I started selling to retailers in 2001. I started selling on Amazon in 2005. FBA is actually fulfillment by Amazon, which is their we'll send the product out for you service. And while I was working at Microsoft, I had friends at Amazon who said, "You always complain about your warehouse. Why don't you come join our new program?" And I did in October of 2006. I think I was probably within the first 100 people who ever signed up. So I've been selling my own products for a while to retailers online, in stores, catalogs, and so on. And as I mentioned, I was also at Microsoft for 14 years, eventually global business manager for Microsoft worldwide retail sales and marketing. So I've made decisions at the $7.35 billion level and at the will we eat ramen this week for lunch level. I've had some nice successes, some very nice successes, and also some failures. But luckily, I've been smart enough to learn from them all, and I love sharing them.
Perfect. So, what you are currently doing? Or you have building some brands, or you are educating seller, and what's going on in your life right now?
Well, first and foremost, I am one of the people, and I know at these days it seems like there's only a handful of us out there who, even though we teach and talk and coach, I still do products. I'm still developing products. I've got one product that I'm partnering with, and we are in Lowe's, which is a major hardware and home improvement chain here in the US. And we've been selling there purely organically. We just started social media a couple of weeks ago, which is incredible. So it's just word of mouth. People really like this product. I have another one that we're in the middle of development on, and I was on a call with China last night. We'll be doing another of our weekly calls tonight. So yeah, I'm still hands deep. I love developing and selling products. I have not stopped. But as you mentioned, I have a couple of programs. One program, I take people to the Canton Fair twice a year. I teach them how to negotiate with factories, how to get good multipliers. Frankly, these days you need at least a 10x multiplier. If you're not doing that, you need to do that. I also have a product accelerator program. They're both under product1.com. We just rebranded last week. So we've gone from Product Development Academy to product1.com. And we'll talk about that in a little bit because products are so important. And then along with it, I also updated my book that was actually written back in 2020. Now we've updated it for 2026. It's kind of a big book, and it's even bigger now, 35% more. Um, and it's all about developing winning products, profitable products, um, selling them everywhere that customers want to buy. That's the key. We're in this to make money, no matter how much you love your products. And I love my products. We have to make money. You can't you can't let your love for your product blind yourself. If you're not profitable, then stop and make money.
Perfect. The reason for doing business is always making money. If we can't make money, so what's the reason for hustling in for years or months in our business if we cannot make money? So
It's
that's
true.
great. So the yeah, please.
I was gonna say, I'm amazed at how many people I see in Facebook groups who complain about Chinese sellers, saying, well, they're cutting down the prices, and they don't mind losing money until they, take over the category, or they take over the niche, or they take over the product, and it's not true. There is not a single Chinese seller who will ever sell a product and lose money. That's just not in their culture. So if they're selling a product for less than you and they're not the factory, that's a wake-up call. That means they know how to negotiate and you don't. That's all it is. There's no special, magic dust that they have that lets them have it, the product for less. It doesn't work like that. And frankly, um, if you're Chinese, that doesn't give you a free pass at factories. That's like saying someone who's American is going to pay less for stuff made in America. It's still expensive. You have to know what you're doing.
Perfect. So recently I saw you are in Alibaba co-create Expo Center. So what's your experience about that and what is different in it and how it's going on there?
Let's see, this is my third year with them. I've been very, very lucky. It's a great conference. Of all the conferences, it is the largest one to bring new sellers who are just starting their journey. And that's always exciting to talk to people who are just starting off. Over the years, I've talked about a few things. This year, I focused particularly on tariffs and the end of the de minimis rule, or Section 321. That's the rule that allowed you to bring products in that were under $800 in value, and now that's been rescinded or suspended. So I gave a talk about how do you handle that? How do you manage that? You still want to make money, and you want to do it the right way, because I also brought up some of the dangers of doing it the wrong way.
Perfect. So let's go on our main topic and let's start with very basic. Uh, what do you think? What the difference between in Amazon space from product development versus product sourcing? What's the difference between both of them? Because most of the time seller think the product sourcing is all about product development. Is there not need anything? We just need to go a Chinese seller negotiate about the price and put their logo there and then go and launch it on Amazon. But what the type of thing you think seller need to focus on and do more on their product development side?
Excellent. So I'm not talking about wholesaling or arbitrage. I'm just talking about um, your own products. Things are not the way they were in 2014, 15. They're not the way they were 8 years ago, and they're going to change a lot over the next couple of years. Um, Back then, you could find a product and you could find a niche and you could put it up and maybe white label it, put your logo on it, and compete. You could do pretty well. Um, Today, there are 9.1 million people registered to sell on Amazon. And lots of times you'll see this statistic and they'll say there's 2.1 million people. No, 9.1 are registered. That means that every month they are paying to be able to sell on Amazon. They want to be able to sell on Amazon. 9.1 million people are trying to sell on Amazon, and only 2.1 made a sale in the last, I think it's either 30 or 90 days, or bought advertising or loaded up product. Otherwise, all these other people, they're still trying and they're not doing it. So I'm going to talk about a few things, but that brings up number one. no matter how much you think you can do it on your own, these days you need guidance, you need help, you need smart people telling you what to do. It's not easy like it used to be. When I started, you put everything into a flat file, and there was a little checkbox at the top where, and this was when I was with Amazon Vendor. Marketplace was even simpler. I put a little checkbox to the top that said, I'll pay $400 a month for advertising. That was it. You didn't have any control over it or anything else. You just said $400 a month. Who knows where it went? But nowadays you need someone to help. So that's number one. Big change in Amazon. Now, what's the difference between sourcing and developing products? A lot of people these days choose their products by going to Helium 10, Jungle Scout, other tools like that. And they go through a bunch of criteria and say, okay, if it meets all of these specific needs, then I know this is a product that it's good. And I think most people at these days know that if you just put out the same product as anyone else, it's going to be lost. It's Seth Godin used to have a saying, or still has a saying, in a field of brown cows, you won't notice any of them. But if you're a purple cow in a field of brown cows, you'll notice the purple cow. You have to stand apart. Jack Trout said, if you don't differentiate, you die. Well, here comes the problem. Most Amazon people who know to differentiate, they differentiate by going through the reviews and looking at 1-star and 2-star and 3-star reviews. They're looking for problems that people have identified. And then they say, aha, we'll fix the problem, we'll get it out there, and we'll make $1 million. It's not the way it works anymore. When you've got thousands of people who are following the same instructions, then when everybody has fixed the flaws, then nobody's different. You're going right into competition. And if you think you succeeded against the competition today, tomorrow there might be someone else who's trying to get ahead of you, or you might have a suspension or things like that. So you have to be constantly on your toes. And what you want to do is you actually want to separate yourself from everyone else. You want to become a category of one. Most people in school have learned that there's the law of supply and demand. You know, it's two curves, the demand curve and the supply curve. And where they meet, that's where the price is. I think they call it the equilibrium point. That's great, except what these tools are doing is they're artificially moving the supply curve to the right. That means when the supply curve moves and the demand curve is stagnant, that equilibrium point comes down. That's the price. That's a price war. So you want to make sure that you are not considered one of that great big group of other sellers. You want to be a category of one. Now, what does that mean? Let's say that somebody has a problem tying their shoes, and there's, I don't know, 40 or 50 different shoe tying things that are all a big long plastic whatever that does something. Who knows? You don't want to do another big long plastic thing that does something. You want to solve the problem just like everything else, everyone else, but you want to do it in a way that's different. Can I share a story from my time back at Microsoft?
Yeah, sure, please.
So when we were at Microsoft, I was in charge of a division that had a product called the Xbox. I think a lot of people know about the Xbox. And Nintendo came out with a product called the Wii. It was kind of like a stick, you know, and you move it around, a wand. And they were eating our lunch because people were loving it. It was different. You know, we had buttons. And we had to respond. And my boss said, we can make a Microsoft Wii. We can make it better than the Nintendo Wii, but we're not. We're going to give customers what they wanted in the first place. What did customers want? They wanted a video game they can control without using the buttons. So we created something called the Kinect, which allow you to control it with your body, your arms, your face. That completely changed everything. If we had made a Microsoft Wii then they would have made a better we, and then we would have done a better one compared to them, and so on. We're always going to be following. They're leading. We're playing catch up. Even if we go ahead, they're leaping ahead of us next. They are controlling the game. We just went back to the original premise. What do customers want in the first place? They didn't want a we, they wanted a solution. And we came up with a solution that completely changed the industry. And this happens all the time. This is my phone. I have a Galaxy. So on this side of the phone, you see the switches on, off, and volume up and down. On this side of the phone, you see 3 more switches. But guess what? These switches are only in the case, not on the phone. The Galaxy doesn't have those 3 extra switches. The case, by a company called 𝐬𝐞𝐜𝐫𝐞𝐭, they stuck 3 extra buttons on the case, and they stuck NFC chips attached to the buttons. So now on those 3 extra buttons, you can push a button, you can program it to do anything. In my case, they do screenshots, they do Alipay, they bring up my schedule. Easy, no increase in cost. NFC chips are almost, they're minimal. But what they've done is they've created something that's different. They are the phone case that protects your camera, and gives you more functionality. People want functionality on their phone. Everyone else, even the biggest names, OtterBox, they just protect the phone. What 𝐬𝐞𝐜𝐫𝐞𝐭 has done is they've created themselves into a category of one. All the other phone cases can compete against each other and get to a race to the bottom. 𝐬𝐞𝐜𝐫𝐞𝐭 won't, because people see it as the phone case that gives you extra functionality. Give people what they want in the first place. So that's development. And I know you asked about the difference between development and sourcing. Now, let's say that you've developed this case. It's made of whatever it is. Let's say it's TPE and some NFC, some small, probably ABS buttons, and a couple of 3 NFC chips. You can go to a factory that creates cell phone cases and say, well, what do you have? And you won't find anything like this because it's not made yet. It's your idea, their idea, but we're pretending it's your idea. This is what you want to make. So you need to find someone that can make it for you. Well, you want a cell phone factory because they've invested in all of that equipment and machinery. That's great. But you want one that understands what it takes to put in some NFC chips, which is not hard. I mean, literally, I could do it with duct tape if I had to, and who can turn around and do it for you and respect your intellectual property. So they're not trying to rip you off or anything. And this is where things become a little questionable. In the Amazon world, a lot of people say, oh, use a trading company because they're less expensive and they could get lower quantities and so on. The truth is, they're not less expensive and they're not getting lower quantities. So if I had, oh, let's find something here. Here we go. This is a little thing for my desk. If this was glass and fragile, the factory that creates this also knows what type of packaging to put this in so it can travel across the globe and never break. So they sell it to you, they sell the packaging to you and everything else. And let's say that comes out to $5 a unit. Fantastic. The trading company wants it. And you come to China with us. We go to factories so you can see this. All of these get dumped into these gigantic blue bins and they get shipped over to the trading company. The trading company says, great, this is what we're going to sell to the Amazon sellers. And if they want packaging, they have to pay extra. If they want this and that, they have to pay extra. It's bare bones. When you get the same thing as the factory is offering you, it actually costs more and it's not as good. So that's one reason that trading companies claim that they're less, and they have this myth that they're less. Another reason, I was at a factory a few months ago, and it's a ceramic factory, and they have these really pretty vases. And they have vase, rack after rack of vase after vase. And the guy was telling me and laughing and bragging because all of these, over 1,000 of these, are being sold to a trading company. Why? Because they all have chips and cracks. And trading companies are where you go if you're a factory and you've got a defective product. You call them up and say, hey, I got a defective product. Do you want to buy all of them at a discount? Trading companies love it because they know Amazon sellers, a lot of them don't do inspections. So they sell it to you cheaper. The third thing is the quantity. Well, let's say that I'm a trading company and the minimum order quantity is 500 units. All right, fantastic. I'm going to buy 500 units. I'm going to sell 100 units to you and 100 units to you and 100 units to you. And because I overcharge you anyway, I'm going to hold on to the final 200 and sell them myself. That's why you get lower quantities, because you're just falling into their traps. So you want to be dealing with the factory. And then the last part of this big long answer is you want to make sure that you negotiate with your factory for the best price possible. You do that, now you win.
Amazing.
Long answer.
Amazing. We have started develop inside. You can promote Samsung Galaxy and then you can develop your answer. That's amazing. And how you can break down the Chinese seller strategy, how they trap seller, is is really, I think, valuable for the people who watching this. And I think the next time you can't go in China because you have revealed their secret in here. That's just a joke. So, so let's go in the next question. So, what do you think? What what your red flag in any product you have seen? When you see any product, you find that red flag which mention you this is not going to be successful in not on marketplace or not anywhere else. So, what your red flags in product development or product hunting side?
So all of the tools give you good information, but the tools are telling you what people are looking for, and frankly, what sellers are bidding on. They're not giving you a view inside the brain of a customer. So when you have all of your data, never stop there. Always do everything you can to see the world through the eyes of your customer. Now, if your product's something you know about, let's say it's for dogs and you own a dog, it'll be easier. But there's lots of things you can learn about and find out about, even being in Facebook groups. So in karate, people people get these different belts, brown belts, yellow belts, green belts. I think there's a purple belt. Of course, there's a black belt. Um, and if you just wanted to do belts and you wanted to do something different, you might do a striped belt or a polka dot belt or a rainbow belt or maybe a belt with unicorns on it because it would be different. And you want to be different. Fantastic. No one who does karate is going to buy them because the reason for the colors of the belt is because it's levels of your expertise. If you did not know anything, if you could not look through the eyes of the customer, you wouldn't know. It would look great on paper, but you wouldn't know. So always look through the customer's eyes. And if you don't know, in this case, join a karate group. You'll quickly see that everyone's talking about getting different levels and the different belts that come with them. You can't just trust the data. You have to always look at the human side. That's so, so important.
Yeah, you're almost right because sometimes that data is everyone see the same data because if we are going to launch the same product you have launched in the next month, I'm going to launch this month, so we have seen the same data. but the difference is how we look at the things. So that's where we make us different, we make our product different.
Exactly.
So,
Perfectly said. You can look at the data, but different people interpret it different ways. It's more than numbers. I love numbers. You're absolutely right.
perfect. So let's say in this way, if sourcing is like finding ingredients and development is like cooking meal, so what the main recipe most seller needs to make their product successful on Amazon? What do you think? What the missing piece people currently have right now?
I think the missing piece most people have is profitability. Profits. Everyone loves talking about revenue and they love talking about sales, but those are what's called vanity metrics. They make you feel good. You can tell your friends and brag, oh my goodness, I'm a six-figure, seven-figure, eight-figure seller. I was just at this Co-Create conference in Las Vegas, and I know an eight-figure seller who did not attend because he could not afford the airplane tickets. It does not matter how much you sell. I don't care how much you sell. And when people tell me how much they sell when they come to my programs and we start talking, I tell them I do not care. I care about how much money you are putting in your pocket, into your bank account, how much money you're using for your family. That's important to me. And if you're not making enough money for your family and so on, then there's a big problem. You're not doing this for your ego. You're not doing this hoping you're going to sell one day. Let me tell you a story. And this kind of gives you a little bit of insight into where Amazon sellers are going great and then they fail. Story's two brothers, and two brothers rent a truck and they buy watermelons and they go all over town selling watermelons. At the end of the day, they've sold all their watermelons. They're happy. They count up their money and they barely broke even. So they didn't make any profit. But you know what happens? They say, hey, we sold our watermelons. High five. Let's celebrate. Tomorrow, let's rent more trucks and buy more watermelons. They're never going to make money. Doesn't matter how many watermelons they sell. Doesn't matter how many trucks they buy. They could be selling 10 times the amount of watermelons, but if they're not making money on each individual watermelon that they sell, if those watermelons are not profitable, all they're going to do is sell more, increase their sales and their revenues, but they're not going to increase their profits, not going to put money in their pockets. At the end of that very first day, they should have said, oh no, we're not making money. Let's figure out how to either increase the price of our watermelons or source them at a lower price, but we need to have a better margin. And once you have that done, then you can go ahead and rent more trucks or so on. If you don't have that done, you're not making money. You have to be profitable. And I think the biggest mistake I see Amazon sellers make is they get so excited about making so many sales and to call themselves a six-figure, seven-figure seller. And every advertisement you see on Facebook, Instagram, and everything else for sellers all says, hey, we've helped this company grow from making 5,000 a month to 50,000 a month. They're not saying making profits. They're talking about marketing. That means buying more trucks, renting more watermelon trucks. You have to be profitable. That begins with the product. It can only be from the product. Everyone who says that we're going to help you, agencies that help you with your sales and they make more profit, what they're doing is they're being more efficient. They're better at making sales than the next guy, so it costs you less. But to create actual to create actual profit, you have to have a profitable product. And if it's not profitable, stop. You're not doing this for your ego. You're doing this to make money. And if you make your clients money, then they'll talk about it. But it's all about making money.
Perfect. So as you mentioned, six, seven figure seller. So when they are running a million or $10 million brand on Amazon, so they have a very good presence in the category. So most of the time, whenever they like to launch product, they just pick source and launch in their category, and they automatically increase the sale of this new product because they have a good presence in the category on Amazon, and they also do a cross selling from their bestseller to their new product, and they develop product in very easy way. What do you think? If we can achieve, it is a good thing is Amazon side, or when we achieve a good brand presence or good revenue share in the category, so we need to just launch that type of category in the category product. We don't want to out of that category. So how's your opinion on that, and how you suggest to sell it?
So the ones that are doing that well and making money, they are getting a product, they're putting it out there, and they're selling it. And as long as it's going like this, they're selling it. The moment it goes like this, they drop it and go to another product. And oftentimes they'll have 15, 20, 30 or more SKUs in their portfolio. And excuse me, but some of the ones who do that and do it very well, they basically have a metric. If they can get one out of every 6 products to be making money, then they're doing well. And as soon as those products start losing money, you drop them. That is a fantastic business model, but it takes a lot of capital. It takes a lot of liquidity. You have to be able to buy all of those. If you're starting off on your own, if you're starting off small, you can't afford to just put 6 products out there hoping one of them sells. And you can't be ready with more products as these fail, and the one of them succeeds, because you have to have a lot of money to do that. When you're selling, when you have $1 million in your pocket, fantastic, you can do that. But when you're starting out, you have to make sure that the product you choose, and lots of people start off with one product, you have to make sure that product is making money.
Perfect. Uh, in the end, if the product is making money, making profit for your brand, it is good for you, whether whatever the product it is. So yeah, that's a great point. So let me ask you one main question. What's one principle of product development you wish that every seller wanted to tattoo on their arm before they are going to launch?
To me, well, let me answer it a slightly different way. I think the number one thing, I'm going to talk about negotiating, because negotiating is so important. And lots of people have all sorts of tricks and cheats and stuff like that. I took a road trip in a car. I drove from Connecticut, which is one side of our country, to Seattle, where I live, on the other side of the country. And halfway between is a place called Yellowstone National Park. It's absolutely beautiful, gorgeous. And as I drove, just outside of Yellowstone, there was a rest area. I pulled over, and someone had written a sign. If you don't know where you're going, how do you know you've arrived? And that has stuck with me. Um, when you are negotiating a price, I know a lot of people feel, oh, we have to negotiate. I have to get 20%, 50%, 30% off the price. But remember, we're doing this to be profitable, to make money. You need to know what the price is of that product and for you to make money. Maybe you're happy with a 6x multiplier. I teach my guys how to do a 9x and a 10x and 12x multiplier. But whatever it is, take the retail price, divide it by that number, and that becomes your target price. That is your North Star. And that's what you negotiate to. You should never negotiate just hoping to get a better price. Always know where you are going. Because if you don't know where you're going, how do you know if you've negotiated enough to get to your destination? Because I see too many people who work really hard, and then they have products that cost too much. It comes back to the very beginning. There's no one in China that's been raised to sell products and make money who will sell them at a loss. You should not be selling at a loss either. Know how much that product needs to be for you to be profitable, before you even start talking with the supplier. And then you work your way through negotiation and trade-offs and so on to get to that point. That's the number one way that you can be profitable. And it's the number one thing I see that Amazon sellers miss. They don't know. They just want to get a better price than they think everyone else is. And they negotiate trying to get to that vague number. Got to know what your target is at the beginning. You got to make money.
Perfect. Because the pricing and negotiation is an important thing in the product development side. So, if I would ask you to wanted to summarize your pricing philosophy in one line or in one paragraph, so what it would be to a seller need to understand in a very easy and simple way.
The customer is always right. Now, let me give some clarity to that. The customer knows how much they want to pay for a product. And if you have 50 customers and you could find out from all of them what they want to pay, you're going to have a good average of what that product price will be. That's where you want to sell your product. If cell phone cases are all going to be around $40 and you want to sell it for $60, do something on it that no one else is doing, that customers wanted in the first place. It's not just something silly. They don't care if there's a logo on the back that's different. These days, everyone wants to save money. Branding means nothing anymore in 2025. They want something different. They want something that's going to give value. So if you see everyone else is at 40 and you want to charge 60, figure out something that's going to give them value, or negotiate your price down, or do trade-offs. But start off with what the customer thinks it would be worth, because the customer is right always when it comes to how much they want to pay. So if there's any central aspect to everything that I teach and I do, it's get your product so it can be priced at what customers want to pay. It's actually in university, they teach it as WTP, willingness to pay. It's a whole thing they study in economics. Get that price. Make your product profitable when it's sold at that price. And then, even though we're talking Amazon, sell everywhere customers want to be. In the US, Amazon's 4% of the market. When you add in TikTok Shop and Walmart and everybody's own D2C, it's 16% of the retail market. 84% are still bought in stores. Sell everywhere. There's not a single shopper in the US that says, oh, I'm not going to buy that because it's in stores and I only buy online. Or I'm not going to buy that because it's online and I only buy in stores. Customers don't care. They want it. If they want it, they're going to buy it. And you want to be everywhere they want to buy. So you start off by knowing what the customers want, what they're going to pay for. Make sure your product is at the right price so you can make profits when it sells, and then sell D2C, sell on Amazon, sell on Walmart, sell in stores, sell everywhere, and make money.
Perfect. So let's warm up with the last question, which is what the biggest change you've seen in coming in product development side in the next 3 to 5 years? What your future um, expectation and
I think we've got two interesting changes that are going to happen over the next few years. One is, and I know this because I've had conversations with some very, very big people within big companies in China. There are some big changes coming in the next few years where there will be some more major competitors to Amazon. So the amount that people are buying online has increased over the last few years, but that's because of social marketing, not Amazon. It's because of TikTok and similar. So Amazon's going to be losing market share. That's what's going to happen in the next few years. The next thing is that you right now you do a lot of hard work, a lot of manual work, and AI is going to come in and do a lot of that. I watched a demonstration from Alibaba 𝐬𝐞𝐜𝐫𝐞𝐭, where you just put in some keywords or a niche, and it goes through, it finds the best products in that niche. The AI goes through and applies the same criteria that every Amazon seller applies. Then it goes through reviews and it makes the suggestions of which flaws to fix, the same as Amazon sellers. Then it actually will design it so it looks a little bit different. Maybe a sippy cup for kids, and it's got a big happy face on it, or it's got an astronaut on it or something. They do up all the photos. They do high res. They write the listing for you. This is what 𝐬𝐞𝐜𝐫𝐞𝐭 was doing. This has already been launched. I saw previews of it a year ago. This is already launched and active now on Alibaba. And here's the thing. It's not the leading edge. There's stuff that I've already seen in China that takes it even further. And it builds in the pricing and the repricing, and it builds in the social media, all done by AI. So if AI is going to do all of this, what does that leave for us? Well, that leaves us. That leaves people. You understand shoppers more than anyone. Parents understand being a parent and kids and sleepless nights better than any AI will ever do. Skateboarders know how great it feels when they finally get this trick down that they've been working on for months, better than any AI can understand. So you've got to tap into that. Bring yourself into it. Bring your experiences. Bring your heart and your soul into it. And AI is going to be left in the dust. And when everyone else depends on AI, you'll be, as I said earlier, you will be a category of one. You can do it. You have to stand out. You have to be the purple cow.
I totally agree with you. Instead of we are scared to AI, we need to leverage it for in our business, because for AI is also built by human, built by people. So we need to leverage the upcoming technology to launch them and import in our business. As soon as we import, as much as we import, we get benefit from them. So that's the session we are going to end here, and hope everyone enjoy, and hope Steven you also enjoy to share really amazing and deep insight. And as I mentioned, started this session is going to be really informative and very practical, because you have shared a very tactic what Chinese seller do in for to Amazon seller and how to tackle it. So thank you so much, Steven, to come on the show. I appreciate your time and the effort you have put in. And thank you so much, everyone. And we will see you in the next episode.
Thank you.